The majority of a park ranger's work involves assisting disoriented hikers, managing animal encounters, and conducting standard surveillance rounds. Occasionally, however, they encounter something that defies conventional understanding. Items that have no business existing in isolated wilderness. Findings that generate far more mysteries than solutions and scenarios, so bizarre that seasoned rangers confess they remain unable to explain what they witnessed. The ranger claimed he sensed trouble before discovering the victims in July of 1999. Park rangers at Yosemite National Park investigated reports of a disappeared woman last observed camping alongside a companion. The designated search zone lay deep within the park, distant from primary visitor areas. Upon reaching an isolated location near Cedar Lodge, they uncovered the bodies of two women, and the setting revealed unmistakable evidence of foul play. Initially, the incident seemed like an isolated tragedy, but mere weeks later rangers received another call. This occasion involved a family of 3 victims. The atrocities devastated. The Park Service rangers initiated collaboration with the FBI, and community police presence intensified. Campgrounds received covert surveillance. Visitors remained uninformed of complete specifics. The perpetrator responsible for these atrocities proved to be Carrie Stainer, a lodging maintenance employee residing near the park with extensive terrain knowledge. He utilized service roads, ranger pathways, and secluded routes to remain undetected. Rangers subsequently verified that Stainer had been residing and traveling throughout the park unseen while maintaining employment in nearby maintenance positions. He remained inconspicuous. He understood when rangers conducted patrols and when locations stood vacant. The revelation of the victims occurred only following a missing person report. Before that moment, no indication suggested anything amiss. Following his capture, Stainer admitted guilt, and for numerous rangers, this incident irrevocably altered their perception of isolated national park territories not as uninhabited wildlands, but as locations where individuals could remain concealed in obvious proximity for extended periods. This account originates from Reddit and states, quote, "I previously accompanied a church congregation ages young children through seniors on a weekend camping expedition to a facility in the Poconos. The facility was positioned at the meeting point of 2 waterways and featured challenging terrain. The congregation enjoyed numerous activities: climbing, structures, watercraft, trekking, athletics, various pursuits, including a wildlife center and compact museum. The wildlife center featured hands-on exhibits, aquariums, contained creatures, etc., and a tactile station. A substantial wooden platform with raised edges on which lay scattered numerous specimens the visitors could examine and touch. These specimens consisted of deer antlers, bones, turtle shells, feathers, arrowheads and pottery, rocks, seeds, nuts, tanned hides, etc. Young children particularly enjoyed it. Every specimen was discovered by visitors or employees while exploring the facility and brought to the wildlife center. I examined the specimens also, and I observed one bone possessed a distinctly unusual configuration. I am an environmental scientist by training and an outdoorsman and naturalist recreationally, and can typically identify what bones originated from what sections of what creatures. This bone was a human mandible, the inferior jaw structure of a person. It was extremely weathered, polished, and lacked teeth, but unmistakably identifiable as such. It had remained there for years, examined by countless individuals, and nobody recognized it or minimally disclosed it. I disclosed it to the administrator, who confiscated it and contacted the state police to examine it. It appeared extremely ancient and nobody was documented missing in the surrounding region, so the facility was permitted to retain it a plausible explanation. The property was the location of a logging and ice collection operation until the 1920s and might have been the remnants of a laborer who perished and was interred right there. But who understands the actual story? And as far as I understand, it's still on the table. In 2013, park rangers surveying Rangel St. Elias National Park in Alaska were notified of visible bones emerging from a glacier. What they anticipated discovering was an incomplete skeleton. What they discovered instead was the remnants of a woolly mammoth so remarkably preserved it retained tissue attachment. The creature had been trapped in ice for millennia. Rangers cataloged tusks, hair specimens, and portions of muscle. What puzzled scientists was the orientation of the mammoth. It seemed to have descended into a crevasse. Abruptly, there were no indications of scavenging or decomposition. Carbon dating verified the mammoth perished over 17,000 years ago. The enigma was not merely the preservation, it was how rapidly the creature seemed to have been encased. The findings indicated a swift, catastrophic freezing occurrence. In 1970, park rangers in the secluded forests of Oregon encountered something extraordinarily hazardous and entirely unanticipated. Concealed beneath accumulations of moss and wreckage was an unexploded Japanese balloon bomb from World War II. These contraptions were deployed from Japan in an effort to transport explosives across the Pacific utilizing jet stream currents. Very few were successfully retrieved. The ranger who located it originally assumed it was discarded metal only after observing peculiar wiring and a deteriorated explosive charge. Did he notify authorities? Bomb disposal units verified the contraption was still active even after decades in the forest. What astonished rangers was how far interior the bomb had journeyed. It had descended miles from any documented recovery location. The vicinity was promptly evacuated, and the bomb was neutralized safely. The finding validated that numerous balloon bombs probably descended in isolated wilderness territories and were never located. In 1931, rangers in the Rocky Mountain National Park uncovered a pair of leather shoes emerging from melting snow at extreme altitude. These shoes were dissimilar to contemporary footwear. They were handmade and assembled using methods consistent with prehistoric fabrication. Additional investigation exposed fragments of garments and implements nearby. Carbon dating subsequently verified the objects were over 8,000 years old. What confounded researchers was the altitude. The location existed far higher than documented habitation areas for the time period. There were no documented trails, no encampments, no proof of extended settlement. Rangers assisted archaeologists in cataloging the location before weather eliminated it. The finding indicated ancient humans journeyed much higher into the mountains than formerly accepted. Even today, researchers cannot clarify why someone would have been in that position with such minimal resources. Fire lookout towers exist in some of the most remote places in North America. Multiple retired lookouts have relayed the same account independently. Strange lights manifest in valleys at night. Campfires, not vehicles. The lights traveled uphill, altered direction abruptly, and vanished when examined through binoculars. Weather data verified. No storms, no aircraft, no nearby roads. One lookout documented the lights advancing toward the base of the tower before vanishing entirely. These accounts were recorded as unexplained visual phenomena and rejected as fatigue. But the uniformity across different parks and decades is what disturbs people. Many of these narratives come directly from Ranger and Lookout Army threads in the Southwest U.S. Park rangers regularly monitor old mining claims. Most are collapsed, some are killed. One in particular was left undisturbed for years. Rangers documented a powerful odor emanating from inside the mine. Not decay, not animals, something chemical. When they eventually inspected the entrance, they discovered modern gear inside: flashlights, batteries, food wrappers. Rope: the mine had no registered claim and no authorized access trail. Law enforcement subsequently advised rangers not to enter due to safety concerns. No follow-up search was conducted. Former rangers on Reddit have stated that some abandoned mines are discreetly flagged as do not enter sites without explanation given to staff. The equipment inside was never removed. The ranger said the first thing that felt wrong was how organized it was. In 2018, a backcountry ranger in Northern California was investigating illegal camp activity inside a protected wilderness zone. What he discovered was not a homeless camp or a survivalist shelter. It was a concealed settlement constructed of multiple camouflage structures distributed across several acres. There were food caches interred in waterproof containers, trip lines fabricated of fishing wire, lookout positions constructed into trees, and handwritten schedules documenting patrol times for rangers. The camp was deserted when discovered, but still warm. Law enforcement subsequently identified it as part of an illegal operation involving illicit substances, but what made it even more unsettling was how long it had remained undetected. Rangers subsequently admitted similar camps had been located in other parks, some with booby traps, some with warning signs written directly to rangers. Several rangers have since verified that they are trained to retreat immediately if they encounter these camps alone. In 1977, park rangers trekking a secluded section of Death Valley National Park made a discovery that made no sense. Embedded in rock high above the valley floor were the fossilized remnants of a whale. The bones were enormous and unmistakably marine. Geologists verified the fossils were millions of years old from a time when the area was submerged. While the explanation is geological uplift, the site itself was completely surreal. Rangers described standing in desert heat, staring at evidence the land was once an ocean. The site remains one of the strangest visual discoveries ever cataloged by park staff. In 2006, rangers in Yellowstone National Park uncovered an untouched campsite buried beneath layers of volcanic ash. The site contained cookware, tools, and clothing positioned as if the occupants had simply vanished. Dating placed the campsite in the mid-1800s. There were no human remains. The ash layer indicated a sudden natural event, forced abandonment, and rangers worked with historians to catalog the site. No records exist clarifying who the campers were or where they went, and the campsite remains preserved as a snapshot in time.